What's going on, my math party people? I'm Anderson. I'll be your math coach here, and in this video, I'm going to help you get through the FTCE General Knowledge Math Test. So online, you can find this as of March 2023. You can go ahead and find this online, and this is a 40-question practice test that we're going to be reviewing in 4 parts. The reason that's going to be in 4 parts is to split up competencies 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to be going over all of the practice questions here, showing you exactly how to get them done and how to look forward to make sure that you can continue making progress from whatever product or service you're using to study. So with that said, math party people, again, this is general knowledge. Let's go ahead and have some fun. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the link to all of this in the description of this video. That way, if you want to go ahead and try this out yourself, if you didn't know it was there, go ahead, give it a shot, and then come back to the video so you can go ahead and watch me take care of all of these problems. So let's go ahead and start with competency 1. So competency 1, what it's going to cover is knowledge of number sense, concepts, and operations. So pretty much, from my experience, what you're going to see in there, you're going to see problems that have to do with number sense, comparing numbers, the size of numbers, fractions, decimals, percents, things like that. Number 2, you're also going to be going over what are called general quantitative reasoning problems. So problems that don't exactly have a formula, but you'll just have to make sure that you read through to understand your game plan from start to finish. And number 3, you'll be looking at order of operations problems. Again, that's pretty self-explanatory, but let's go ahead and dive on in. Number 1. So number 1 right over here, let's go ahead and zoom on in. Which of the following symbols should be placed in the box to form a true statement? Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to show you the answer right away. I want to go ahead and really point out here with this first problem. This is actually a pretty broken problem. I'm going to go ahead and explain to you why. So if you've seen this problem on your test, this is going to be an automatic gimme question. How do I know this? Well, here's the thing. The FTCE GK Math Test, as we know, is a multiple choice test. It's not select all that apply. It's a multiple choice test, meaning that there is only one correct answer. Now, why is that advantageous to us? Well, here's why. If I look at a question like this, I don't even need to read these numbers. I don't even need to look at these. Watch this. Watch how crazy this is. And this is a flaw in the way that the state has made this test. Just take a look at the answer choices. Let's take a look at answer choice A. If I take a look at A equals, well, if it's equal, what other potential answer could be correct? Potentially D could be correct because you're looking at it and it says less than or equal to. So if it's equal to, then D would also be correct, less than or equal to. You see what I'm saying? So boom, if A is correct, then D is also correct. But again, you can't have 2 correct answers. Okay, so let's understand this a little better then. Well, what if it was B? If it was B less than, well then again, D would also be correct. Because if it's less than, then it's true that it's also less than or equal to. Let me show you an example here. Let's go ahead and say that we have, let's say 3 is less than 5. True statement, right? 3 is less than 5. But also, if I wrote 3 is less than or equal to 5, that's still true. Still true. Now again, on a multiple choice test, can you have 2 correct answers if it's only one selection that you can make? No. That is a flaw in the way that this test was made for this specific type of question. So, long story short, my party people, here's the trick to this one. If you see a question like this on your actual test, automatically what you want to do is point out the answer choice that includes both the equal to and the less than or greater than. That's going to be right here. Point it out because the answer is going to be the one that points the opposite way, which is going to be C. Right here. For the only reason being, my party people, the only reason being that you can't have more than one correct answer. And because they are forced to put 4 options, there's no other symbol that they can put in here. So they kind of put themselves in a bind here, and you can automatically get the correct answer. Now, if we're doing this straightforward, if we're going ahead and just actually tackling the problem itself, I can still show you how this is going to be correct. So we have negative 1/3 and we have negative 2/5. So quickly what you can do is you can go ahead and grab a calculator and you can go ahead and calculate what you have in front of you. So negative 1/3, what is that going to be? Well, 1/3, when you plug it into your calculator, you're going to end up getting 0.333 repeating. So that'll be negative 0.33 repeating. Now, for the negative 2/5, plug that into your calculator, and what you'll get is negative 0.4. Negative 0.4. Cool. So now let's go ahead and put that box right there in the middle, and let's ask ourselves, okay, we have negative 0.3 repeating and negative 0.4. Which one's bigger? Well, because they're both negative, think about it like this. On a number line, when you're thinking of a number line, what we need to understand, my party people, is that, hey, when you're at the negative, so here's 0, when you're negative, well, the one that's further to the left is the smaller number. But when it's negative, it's the bigger looking number that's actually more negative. So negative 0.4 would be like right here. And the 0.3 repeating, that'd be right here. So in that sense, because this is to the right, because of that, negative 0.3 repeating is greater than negative 0.4. And there it is. That's why C would be the correct answer, going through a straightforward as if this wasn't even a multiple choice question. But again, just to make sure I point this out to you, this is a gimme question. This is a low-hanging fruit. When you have a question like this, where the options are equal to, less than, greater than, and then the fourth option, always go for the one that points in the opposite direction. So these two would automatically be wrong. It's the one that points the other way. Got it? Cool. Let's go ahead and take a look at problem number 2. So let's go ahead and take a look here. So question number 2, this still falls under competency 1. And so let me go ahead and just point it out again. Competency 1 is all about number sense concepts and operations, and percents can fall within this category. So let's go ahead and go through this next question. Now, when it comes to word problems, my party people, the one thing that I always say, and I've been teaching for a while, one of the things that I always say is read the question sentence first. You want to start off by understanding what you want. How many times have you done a problem? Think about this. How many times have you done a problem where you start reading the question, start to finish, and halfway through you kind of just stop and you have this blank look on your face and you're kind of wondering what the heck is going on and you have no idea? Even though you know what the words mean, you're just clueless. Happens to all of us every now and then. And the thing is, what you're doing is you're reading information for which you don't know the purpose of. When you start reading information without knowing why you're reading it in the first place or what the purpose of it is, it's going to be a lot harder to sit there and say, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's going to be a lot harder to say that. So instead of putting yourself in a bind like that, let's instead go ahead and start with the question sentence right here. What is the total cost of the computer and the printer at the promotional price? So instantly, before I confuse myself with any information, I'm going to go straight into this and I'm going to say, hey, I want to know what the total cost is of the printer and the computer at this price, or at this promotional price. Okay, cool. So obviously you see what the answer is. You can try this out yourself. I don't really care that you see the answer. It's all about how to get there, right? We have to know how to get there, because if we don't know how to get there, then we can't repeat the success that we're trying to get. So let's go ahead and try this out here. What do we want? Step 1. Well, what I want is the cost of computer and printer. Sounds good. So I'm going to keep my mind geared toward that from the very get-go. This is going to be a pretty awesome thing for us to do, because now when we go back and sort through the information, all we care about are things that have to do with the price of the computer and the printer. That's all I care about. So let's go ahead and dive in and let's see what we have going on. So starting off, we see that it says, hey, the regular price of a computer is $1,200 and the regular price of a printer is $300. Okay, so let's go ahead and just highlight that. Price of a computer is $1,200. The price of a printer is $300. So let's write that down. The computer again, $1,200, and this is going to be $300. So this is step 2. This is where we're going to be writing down our information. That way we can go ahead and sort through it and see how we can get the answer from it. So here, cool, we have that going on. Then it says, an electronics store has a promotion that offers a 40% discount on the printer when the computer is purchased at the regular price. Okay, that's pretty important there. Let me highlight that as well. So I'm going to highlight that again. We have a promotion, offers a 40% discount on the printer when the computer is purchased at the regular price. So what does that mean? Well, what that means is if you buy the computer, you get 40% off the printer. That's it. All good, nice and easy. Now, there's going to be a little mistake, this very common mistake that people make, so pay attention. And I want you to comment on this video if you caught the mistake before I did. But here's the common mistake that a lot of people make. So we have a 40% off discount for the printer. So I'm going to look at the printer and I'm going to say right here, 40% off. Because I'm assuming I'm buying that computer at the regular price. So, boom, the computer's going to be $1,200. That's what I'm paying. I'm good. Now, how do I calculate what the price is going to be of the printer with that discount? What a lot of people end up doing is this. A lot of people will know the formula for a percent, and that formula is going to be the percent multiplied by the original equals the result. Now, the one thing that a lot of people end up ignoring a lot of the times is we need to understand that the percent that you apply is the result that you'll get. Write that down. The percent that you apply is the result that you'll get. They represent the same thing. The one's in the form of a percent, the other's in the form of an actual number. So if I'm going to apply that 40% on that $300 printer, the result that I'm going to get is not going to be the price I pay. It's going to be the amount of the discount. Because again, the 40% represents the discount, so the result will represent the amount of the discount. What does that mean? It means that if you want the actual cost, what you're going to pay is you need to take that number away from the 300, and that will be how much money you'll be spending on the printer. Another way to do it is by starting with 100% and taking the 40% away, seeing that you're going to be paying 60% of the printer's cost, and you'll get the same exact answer either way. And I'll show you both ways. I got you. So here we go. 40%, when we do this formula here, we're going to turn this into 0.4, and then we're going to multiply that by 300. Again, turn your percent into a decimal. And then from there, 0.4 times 300, that's going to go ahead and give us, right over here, 120 bucks. So again, remember, this percent that we apply, let me go ahead and just make this very, very clear for us. This is the percent of the discount that we applied. So that means that the result that we get, this 120, again, that is the amount of the discount, my party people. That's the amount of the discount. So if we take one extra step here and we figure out, hey, how much are we actually paying? Take a look here. 300 minus the 120, that's going to equal 180. That's what you're paying for the printer. That's what you're paying for the printer at the promotional price. And so let me show you how you can still get to this 180 with less steps. Again, every percent that you're always operating with is always based off of the original 100%. So if we start off with the original 100%, here's what happens, my party people. If I start with the original 100% and I have a 40% discount, 100% minus 40% equals 60%. 60% is what I'm paying. Again, I was originally supposed to pay 100%, but then I got a 40% discount, which means I only pay 60%. So if I apply this, my party people, look at this. 60% times the 300, what's that going to be? Well, that'll be 0.6 multiplied by 300, and that'll give me, look at that, 180 from the very get-go. Because again, if this represents over here what you pay, well then this result that you get represents what you pay. Again, the percent that you apply is the result that you get. Hopefully that's making a little more sense now. So now that we have that, we remember that the computer itself was $1,200 and the amount that we're paying for the printer is $180. We add those two amounts together and here's our answer. $1,200 plus 180, that's going to equal 1,380 bucks. And that is the amount that we pay for both the computer and the printer at that promotional price, which is answer choice B, which is the one that's listed on the website as well. And there we go. So far, hopefully you're doing pretty good, right? We have 2 questions. Again, we're going to be going over the rest of them here. We have another 1, 2, 3, 4 more questions in this video. And in the next one, we'll continue on with competency 2, then 3, then 4. So if you're liking this video so far, hey, I'm new to YouTube. Go ahead, shout me out, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment on this video on what you've learned, or if this is helping you out at all, or what you would like to see in the future. Because again, we plan on staying here and making sure that you succeed. So take a quick moment to do that for us. That way you can support us and we can support you. So here we go, number 3. Which of the following symbols should be placed in the box to form a true statement? Doesn't this look familiar? Doesn't this look familiar, my party people? Let me go ahead and just show you this right here. What did I tell you? This is a flawed type of question. It's a flaw. For the only reason being that you cannot have more than one correct answer. And so immediately, if I take a look at the answer choices and I see that D is pointing less than or equal to, that means that, hey, whatever the comparison is, what's going to be true is either going to be the less than part or the equal to part. One of those two is going to be correct. And so with that said, hey, if it's less than or equal to, that means that, hey, it cannot be B or A. The answer automatically is C. And if you take a look here, C. I didn't even have to look at the numbers simply because, again, this is a flawed question. If you use some logic and reasoning here, you can tell what the correct answer is without doing any comparisons at all. But if you need to, 3.4 compared to 3.309, yeah, we can definitely say for sure that this is going to be greater than. 3.4 is going to be greater than 3.309. For the simple reason being, place value. So we look at the 3, there's a whole 3 for both. Then when you look at the 10th place, we have a 4, and then you have a 3. So therefore, this is going to be bigger. And there you go. So again, there it is. I hope you're starting to see that, hey, if you see this question on the test, you don't even have to waste any time. You can get the correct answer in less than 2 seconds, and you can have yourself a good day. I hope that you enjoyed this part. This is fun for me. So let's go and take a look at the next one here, my party people. So this next question here has to do with understanding numbers. Because if you see here, it says, hey, let me go ahead and just zoom in a little bit. Right there. It says, hey, students in the math class, what did I say again? Read the question first. What is it asking us? If a student earns the following grades, which grade will be dropped? Okay, cool. And so we're basically given these scores and we want to know which one of them is going to be dropped. Now my first question is going to be, how do I know which score is going to be dropped? And that's when you just go back to the information really quick. And it says here, students in the mathematics class are allowed to drop their lowest quiz grade. So essentially what we're trying to do is, hey, figure out which one is the lowest. Point out the smallest number. And here's the thing, my math party people. On the GK Math, the great advantage that you have is that you get to use a calculator. You get to use a 4-function calculator. Booyah, you're good. So go ahead and grab your calculator. I'll just go ahead and grab my phone here, and I'll just use the 4-function calculator on my phone. And what I'll do is I'll simply go ahead and grab all these numbers and find which one's the smallest as quickly as I can. So here we go. Let's take a look at the 6 over 8. If I take 6 and divide it by 8, boom, I'm going to get 0.75. If I take 2/3, hey, divide that. I know what it is. I'm just going ahead and going through the actions with you. That's going to be 0.6 repeating. 73%, just turn that into a decimal. That's going to be 0.73. And then lastly, 6 over 10. Well, dividing by 10 is actually pretty straightforward, but you can use your calculator if you need to, and that'll end up being 0.6. Boom, and we're done. So now all we have to do, my math party people, is, hey, which one of these numbers is the smallest? Well, if I take a look, 0.75, 0.6 repeating, 0.73, 0.6 by itself. So these two seem like they're the smallest, and just as a reminder of how these numbers work, remember that 0.6 repeating is the same thing as saying 0.6, and it goes on forever. So you can write as many sixes, ... 0.6 is simply going to be 0.6. So which one of these is the smaller number? It's just going to be the 0.6, because 66 is greater than 6. So here, this is our smaller number, and that was represented with 6 over 10, and so that's going to be answer choice D. And boom, we're all good there. And again, there it is listed for us. That's D. So hopefully you're having a good time so far, my party people. I think this is the last two here coming up. Great for competency 1. So let's go ahead and get into this next word problem here, my party people. Let's go. So right over here we go. As always, the first thing we do is read the question here. So it says, which of the following is the maximum amount of $3,000 systems on hand if the current inventory totals $111,000? Okay, so this question here, I'm going to be very honest with you. I believe that there is a kind of like a flaw in the way that this question is written, but there is also a keyword that many people may miss. So I would consider this question a little bit harder than the others. One, it's a word problem, sure. But number two, it's because of the way that the question's written, it could stir a little bit of confusion here. So again, what we're looking for is the maximum amount of $3,000 systems, okay? So we want to know the most of these that we can have. So, okay, what we want, number one, is, again, the maximum number of $3,000 systems. Now, again, I don't know what that really means yet, but what we're going to do is we're going to read the question, the information within it to understand the information. So here we go. An electronics store has a current inventory of 50 stereo systems. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to instantly highlight that because I need to make sure that I am taking care of all of my information, knowing what's going on, what are the conditions of the problem. So again, there are 50 total stereo systems. And then it says the lowest price stereo system in the store sells for $800 and the highest price stereo system sells for $3,000. Sounds good. So, okay, our lowest price is going to be $800. Our high is going to be $3,000. Sounds good. So that's all of the information that we have. And again, it's going to total out the inventory to $111,000. So here's the thing. A lot of the times when you have two pieces of information that are being basically included in multiple relationships, typically what you would resort to is a system of equations. But the thing is, that's going to be in competency 3, not competency 1. And obviously you may not know that while you're taking the test, but in case you didn't know, your test is going to be in order from competencies. But if you're here and you're tempted to make a system out of this, don't worry, you don't really have to. What you can do here is you can actually just use some logic and reasoning with the actual answer choices. Here's what I mean. If I go ahead and just take a look at the $111,000, look at what a lot of people may be tempted to put as the answer. Think about it like this. If we want to know what's the maximum number of $3,000 systems we can have, a lot of people may be tempted to say, hey, just take that $111,000 and divide it by 3,000. Do it. Okay, cool. If I take $111,000 and I divide it by 3,000, I end up getting 37. So again, if I do $111,000 divided by the $3,000 systems, I get 37 of those. But 37 is not the answer, my party people, because if we say that all of the systems are $3,000 systems, because that's what we're doing here by dividing by the whole total by 3,000, you're basically saying all of them are $3,000. But that doesn't make too much sense because it says that we have a total of 50. So if you're taking a look at answer choice D and you think that that might be the answer, not going to be it. Not going to be it. Because again, we need to have a total of 50 systems present in the inventory. And if we are assuming that we're dividing all of the money by 3,000, we're assuming that all of them are $3,000 systems. But what we do know is that we need to add up to 50, and we do have at least one stereo system that's $800. So that doesn't add up. So that's why D is not the answer. Now, if you want to use the answer choices, actually, that's a pretty good idea. Because if you go to 35, let's go ahead and go to choice B, or C, excuse me. Let's try that one out. Well, what's 35 times 3,000 going to be? Well, if I take answer choice C, 35 times $3,000, because again, that's the number of $3,000 systems that we're talking about. 35 times 3,000, what's that going to be? That's going to give me $105,000. Okay, cool. That's going to give me $105,000. So nothing wrong with that so far. So it looks like we still have about $6,000 to go to get to the $111,000. Again, that's the total we're trying to reach. So we have 6,000 left. But here is another problem. Again, we need to add up to 50 total systems. So if you think about it, $6,000, if I divide that by the $800 for the lower price system, here's what we get. 6,000 divided by the 800, we end up getting 7.5. What does that mean? Well, what this means, my party people, is that those are 7.5 extra systems on hand at most. So if we had 35 plus 7.5, that's only 42.5, which again, you can't really have a half amount of stereo systems, but either way, it doesn't add up to 50. Because it doesn't add to 50, C cannot be the answer either. So you can go ahead and rewind to get to this part again, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this just a little smaller or move it out of the way. That way, I can go ahead and try out B. Let's see how B works. So again, remember the answer choices represent how many of those $3,000 systems we have. And so let's try that out. If we have 32 of them, 32 times 3,000, what will that give us? Well, that'll end up giving us $96,000. And let me just double check that with my calculator over here. 32 times 3,000. Yep, 96,000. And so what's left over? Well, what's left over is going to be 111,000 minus the 96,000. And that's going to be $15,000 left. Okay, sweet. So with that said, can we get to a total of 50 stereo systems here? Well, if we take the $15,000 left and we divide that by the minimum $800 stereo systems, we get 18.75. So if we divide that by the $800, we get 18.75. And if we think about it, 32 plus 18 is 50. We have the extra 0.75, but we can actually disregard that because they're saying that the lowest price stereo system is 800. The highest price is 3,000. Yes, there could be some in between. And so not all of these are going to be 800. Some of these can be 900, 925 to make it a clean 18. That is absolutely possible, but that's the confusing part of this question for a lot of people. We may think that we're looking for an exact amount, but what they fail to realize and what this problem kind of fails to tell you is that there are stereo systems that are greater than 800 and smaller than $3,000 in price. So that's why I'm not a fan of this question particularly, but this problem is absolutely doable. And so the answer choice here that's correct would be B. And again, I don't blame you if this one annoyed you a little bit. It ends up happening. So there it is. So again, this one's confusing, but don't worry. Let's go ahead and get into this last one here and have a much better time than we've been having before. I gotcha. So here, let's take a look at this last one here for Competency 1. And again, before I end the video, just don't forget to support us. Like the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and then comment on what you've learned or if you recognize me from the past. So with that, here we go, my party people. Let's take care of this one. Simplify. Order of operations. This is flat out order of operations. Right there. So how are we going to get this done? Well, by understanding PEMDAS. PEMDAS. Remember, PEMDAS is parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. The reason I write it like this is because I want you guys to remember that multiplication and division are the same exact operation. Same thing with addition, subtraction. They're the same operation. They just tell you which direction to go in. Multiplication and division. When you multiply, you scale up. When you divide, you scale down. When you add, you're moving to the right on a number line. When you subtract, you're moving to the left. So I just want you to understand, again, they're the same operations, just different directions. So all that means is you're going to read this left to right. If multiplication and division are there, you do whichever comes first. If addition and subtraction are there, you do whichever comes first. Let me go ahead and show you. So first things first, we are going to take care of our parentheses. So we see that we have 15 minus 3 inside of a parentheses, so that'll be 12. Then we have 2 plus 1, that'll be 3. Then we have 8 minus 6, that'll be 2. So we've taken care of step 1. We've gone through our parentheses. I don't see any exponents, so I don't really have to worry about that at all. But what I do see is that we have, again, 12 divided by 3 multiplied by 2. So a lot of people will make the mistake of saying, hey, 3 times 2 comes first. That's 6. 12 divided by 6 is 2. And you'll get D, but the thing is D is not the correct answer. Because again, it's all about whichever comes first. Always, always, always. And so what comes first here is the 12 divided by 3. 12 divided by 3, that's going to end up being 4. And then 4 times 2 is going to give you 8. And that's why C is actually going to be the correct answer, as you can see right there. No pun intended. But there it is, my math party people. Again, I'm Anderson, I'm your math coach, or you can call me Mr. Duran, whichever way you want. But I'm really happy that we were able to get through Competency 1. Now, I want you to look forward to the next video where I go over all the questions from Competency 2, then 3, and then 4. That way you have a complete review of the FTCE GK Math practice test that's available on the state legislature's website. So with that, let me know if you have any questions on this. I want you to go ahead and give me a comment on this video. Let me know if you learned anything at all, if you're excited for the next videos, or if you want me to produce more content for you specifically for GK Math. We're doing all types of teacher test prep, so the ones with the most interaction, the people that tell us the most that they want to see more stuff from us, hey, we'll go ahead and pay attention to your test more. But until then, I want you guys to have a very good rest of your day. Look forward to the next video, and let's keep learning. I got your back, and I'll see you soon.